You are naked,
Whoa, hang on.
not physically.
Okay.
Mentally, you are naked.
Stripped.
Stripped down
Shall
to
we
the...
say stripped?
Stripped down to the core.
Okay.
You're listening to The Big Drill.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Big Drill.
Welcome.
We have Will here and me, Ghazi. And today is another juicy episode.
Like every other episode.
And what are we going to talk about today?
Today, we are going to talk about combat sports. And along with combat sports, the morality issue. I'm just getting some notes here. Ghazi doesn't know I've got them.
He's done some research.
So the morality issue, and also kind of what some elements we need to think about from a mental health perspective, or from just like a health perspective in general, really.
Yeah, so I think the question we're going to drill deep on is it too barbaric? And I guess, should it be banned? Combat sports. So that's boxing and MMA is probably what we're going to focus on mostly, just because they're the two popular ones.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously a couple of others which are striking, which could be things like jiu-jitsu. Well, it's more like grappling, I suppose.
I was going to say,
that's grappling. That's groundwork. Yeah, sorry.
Kickboxing.
I stand corrected. Muay Thai.
Yeah. Wrestling.
Karate.
Not WWE wrestling. Actual wrestling.
Wow.
Yeah. No, that's got nothing to do with this.
I mean, my flatmate Alex did show me a clip earlier of a WWE wrestler which got hit on the head with a chair and incurred quite a large graze cut.
A graze.
No, it was a cut. It was a cut. There was blood.
Okay, sometimes things goes wrong,
Yeah.
but that's with any sport. Okay. Are you a fan? Combat sports?
Yeah, I've got to say I am. I mean, I've watched Anthony Joshua at the O2. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something which, if the stars align, I'll happily sit down and watch a boxing match. And MMA, I trained a fighter along with another personal trainer back in my earlier years of personal training, and he went on very well, and fully supported what he was doing.
Was that boxing or
that was
MMA?
MMA.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, so I it's something that I absolutely think is a good thing to have, but
As a sport.
but then you can't just kind of go, well, hey, this is good, and then forget about it as a good thing, because there's always this other kind of thing you need to consider, which is the bad side of it, the injuries that are incurred, and the death that happens.
And there was one recently, actually.
Yeah.
Name was Patrick Day. He was actually 27 years old, the same age as me. And I was watching the press conference because I'm quite into boxing. So I was watching the press conference, and I didn't know who he was before this press. And he seemed like a well-spoken guy, lovely guy, was smiling throughout the whole thing. And I thought nothing of it. So okay, we're gonna watch. So I actually watched the fight live.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember the opponent's name, Charles Conwell, I believe. And basically what happened was, in the 10th round, he suffered a knockdown and he was knocked out. And he was stretchered out
Right.
of the arena. He then died 4 days later from brain injuries. And that's actually the third death in boxing this year alone.
So not a great year for boxing.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I mean, statistically speaking, the death rate in boxing isn't that high compared to other non-combat sports or pastimes.
Yeah.
Such which are inherently more risk orientated, such as base jumping, skydiving, you actually get more deaths from running and cycling. I'm assuming
As a sport, or
as a participation sport, which is probably due to things like being hit, deaths on the road, running on the road, or cycling and stuff like that. So, but as a combat sport, it's obviously I think Muay Thai is the highest.
that's
or
with
the
the,
most dangerous.
elbows.
Elbows, knees.
Yeah, that's some dangerous shit right there.
Yeah, that is very. And I actually was in Thailand, and this is an anecdote that is probably going to make some people smirk and laugh. I'm sitting in a bar on PP, and they seem and you
PP, the area of Thailand that's the area.
the island, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and
Just clarifying to the people. Yes. Continue.
So I was sitting there in a bar with one of my best mates, Ollie, and his wife, not his wife, sorry, his girlfriend.
Soon to be wife.
I don't know, maybe if he wants to stay in Thailand, yeah. So we're sitting there, and there's this nudge, and they go round, and they kind of like basically want you to participate in the ring as a you're spectating, and they get the spectators out, and they go, come in and actually get involved in a match with other people.
Actually fight,
and I'm like,
So there's a ring in the bar.
There's a ring in the bar. It's
Okay.
called the Reggae Bar.
Cool.
And it is a cool bar. And so the guys actually do Muay Thai, don't fight. They walk around and try and get you to fight.
I mean, it would be really unfair if he got you into the ring.
It would, horrendously unfair. So these guys, obviously, they get people, and you get like a free bucket of alcohol. And I'd already had a few drinks, and a meal, and a few
it's
drinks.
drunk fighting. Okay.
So I'm going, this is never a good idea. And I was sitting there, and he came round once, came round twice, and Ollie like gave in a nudge and was like, "Go on, fresh," and I'm like, "No, it's not going to happen. I'm not doing it." And then the time which I thought maybe this guy got in the ring who had been pulled out of the audience as well, and I was like looking at him, and I was like, And then this other guy came in who was like a lot bigger, with a lot bigger reach, and you look at him and you go, oh, he's definitely got this guy. And then I looked at him, and he tapped his elbows like that, and tapped his knees, and I was like,
oh shit's about to get
hang
real.
on a minute, he's doing what? And then I was like, hang on a sec. And then the bout goes off, and then this guy went into some elbows, knees, flying, spinning kick, but not the big guy, this little guy. And I was like, if I'd gone in, I'd gone, yeah,
You'll take that one.
I'll take this
I'll
one.
choose him.
And what a mistake that would have been. I'd have been straight KO.
Wait, so they actually properly fight. This is not no sparring.
No.
This is.
No.
I'm trying to make you bleed.
Full on. They got head guards, and they've got.
Okay, good.
So
that's a start.
They got head guards, and this guy put on the shin guards. I was like, I don't think that's necessary. Are we really going to be doing? Yeah, we are. Okay, fair enough. Looks as if that's happening.
Okay.
But literally, two things I got a problem with. One, everyone that was getting in that ring had been drinking, probably apart from the guy that knew what he was doing. He was like, I'll just go in sober and absolutely annihilate.
He probably
this
does
guy.
it every night.
And
just
then,
to fuck people up.
And then gives away his buckets of alcohol. Yeah, I don't want the alcohol. I just want to mess.
I
with
just
people.
want to punch people.
And then it's kind of like people drinking, and also people have no idea what they're doing. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And that was something which inherently, that's my experience of that's as closest to a ring that I've ever got to fighting. And I personally would never step into a ring to fight voluntarily.
Even if you were paid.
I'd spar, and I'd how much are we talking getting paid?
I don't know. Anthony Joshua? That's a lot. That's a big payday.
Well, it'd be over pretty quick, wouldn't it?
It's a good payday though.
Your experience?
No, I don't do no fighting. I now prefer MMA, UFC in particular, to boxing now, but I still love both sports. I've sparred, but nothing to the point of seriousness. All I can do is admire what these athletes do. And for me, I do think it's quite barbaric. It can be. But I think that's why people love it so much.
Right.
I think there's something like, you're stripping it down to how much more natural can one be.
It's a very primal thing, isn't it?
Just like, yeah, and that's what piques the interests of people, of it's one man or woman versus another, and let's find out.
When you think about it, this person gets in a ring to fight another person with the sole intent on, invalidating their ability to stand or fight or continue to cause any physical offence towards them, as in like equalise them basically with the most quickest and effective way, which is a shot to the head. In a knockout blow is not is going to be to the.
It can be,
or to the neck, which then causes forces.
I've seen people go down and they can't continue from body blows.
Okay,
it does happen. Actually, a lot of people say, a lot of fighters will say that the body blows hurt way more, just because your liver's there, your kidneys are there.
Yeah,
you can't really protect them either.
Well, interesting stat: 90% of boxing injuries occur in the head.
I can believe that.
57% of kickboxing injuries occur in the head. So, kickboxing, obviously, you kind of like.
Well, taking a kick to the body.
Yeah.
Is going to be way more hurtful than a.
So the percentage is lower, right?
Yeah, and I in kickboxing you can kick at the legs as well. Yeah. So that's another part that you don't even get to.
Yeah, lower limb extremities. Yeah.
So there's been questions about making it safer, and there's two ways I can think of doing that.
Go for it.
One is the head guards.
Yep.
They've actually recently taken away head guards from the Olympics. So for boxing, as an amateur, you have to wear a head guard.
Right, that's what I understood, yeah. So they've taken that away now.
In the Olympics, yes. So even though they're amateurs in the Olympics, and now, this is very recent, they've introduced, you can bring professionals into the Olympics.
Okay, so let's take the head guards off and bring in professionals. I mean, that sounds ludicrous to me.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the preventative measure.
I don't know if that's a preventative
measure. Because I don't think they're going to be preventing injuries.
No, preventing the injury is to keep the head guard on.
Right.
So an idea would be to bring that into the professional scene.
Yeah.
Which a lot of boxers have argued for.
Sure. And I would argue the same. Especially if my child was going into the ring, for example.
Yeah.
I'd probably be an advocate of that.
Yeah. And
I don't have a child, but if I did, yeah.
But the one that I think makes more sense to me is bringing in same day weigh-ins as the fight. So for people that don't know, you got to make weight. All right?
Sure.
Fine, because it's unfair me fighting Anthony Joshua. That's just
he wouldn't stand a chance, mate. He wouldn't stand a chance.
No matter how skilled he is,
you float like a bee and sting like a butterfly, wouldn't you?
You just said that the wrong way.
Did I?
Oh my god.
Did I?
Float like a bee.
I know.
Okay, fine.
Got you there. Wait.
The reason for that, same day weigh-ins as the fight, is what people are doing, or what fighters do, is they do water cuts.
Yep.
So they literally dehydrate themselves to reach a certain weight. Mm-hmm. And that gives them an advantage in the ring because they got 24 hours to rehydrate, eat as much as they can.
Yep.
The body puts on some weight.
So they dehydrate themselves
to the point they look ill.
Yep. So do you know what that also does?
It can have negative effects on the brain.
So it reduces cognitive functioning.
Yep.
Which puts them on the back end of things.
I've heard mini strokes as well.
And it also leads them to be more susceptible to more dangerous brain injuries of a higher magnitude from taking blows. So, yeah, I think like it's one of those situations where the fine same day weigh-ins as the fight.
Which means you couldn't dehydrate yourself.
Well, no. Because
you couldn't fight that day.
I think if you're going to do that, there needs to be some sort of level of monitoring on hydration levels of the fighter. The fighter's got to have a certain level of hydration, which passes them out of that kind of danger zone.
There is stuff like that right now. But I think just saying, listen, you're going to fight in a few hours. Make sure you make weight. You have no choice but to go up in your weight category. And actually fight at the weight category you're supposed to be fighting at.
So that's the way to do it then, right?
So, for example, lightweight in the UFC is 70 kilos, if I remember correctly. I am about 78 kilos. I could make lightweight and fight in that category if I dehydrate myself.
Yeah.
That means everyone else is forced to do that as well. Because they don't want to have to fight someone bigger than them.
Right.
Because it's just an unfair advantage. Just eradicate that. That would be the safest thing to put in. And I think that would stop a lot of unnecessary injuries and deaths, actually.
So you're talking about obviously in competition.
In competition.
So, I mean, for me, also, you have this like idea of training, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about the injury prevalence that happens whilst boxers are training?
That, I guess, has to go down to their team and their coaches. They need to make sure, for example, if they shouldn't be sparring without head guards, for example, or the week of the fight, I wouldn't advise them to go crazy with the sparring just in case they get hurt. But I guess every team's going to have their own different methods. I've seen some fighters don't spar at all. They don't spar whatsoever. They just go and fight, and that seems pretty good. But I've heard there's been some wars in the sparring realms. So,
I mean, for me, I've got a couple of journal papers. Because obviously
journal papers.
You know, I'm a bit of a geek, bit of a stato, and excuse me. And there's this kind of this idea that actually the more it's to do with kind of like the age and experience, and also then how much they train and the volume of training, so on and so forth. And you actually find like, so if we take into consideration the like the kind of combat sports, so to speak, you get a greatest amount of injury of wrist that happens with like mixed martial arts, and then intermediate striking, boxing, kickboxing, karate, and so on and so forth, and then the lower amount within regards to like the grappling style, so judo, for example. Yeah. And you see that these instances actually find that there is, you kind of like get more injuries in the training of these elements, especially if the experience of the athlete is less than 3 years, for example. So when they're learning, when they're kind of like getting into their kind of, I don't know, learning their skill, learning their trade, so to speak, is when errors are made. Okay, so it actually puts them at quite a high risk. I'm going to read something here. In karate, the rate of injuries in athletes with more than 3 years experience is about 11.2%. And
bad.
then when you compare to 88% of individuals with less than 3 years sport experience, it's a huge difference, right?
I mean, just let's use the gym as an example. Yeah. The lower your experience is with lifting,
the more risk you are, in theory.
So, or, you know,
even with higher loads that you start to lift, i.e. even with higher levels of competition you start to put yourself in as you become more experienced, there's still that time frame where you're at most risk.
Exactly.
So in judo, 70% of severe head injuries are observed with young athletes under 20 years and are practicing their sport for less than 3 years.
So essentially is be careful when you first start learning.
When you first start learning, yeah. And that's something which I think, because there is a lot of positivity that's brought in the discipline of combat sports, respect, the training regimes. There's so many positive movements to centre and focus youths, females, males off of negative pathways, or engaging in,
get them off the streets, man.
Sure,
what it does.
For sure,
It gets them off the
get
streets.
them off the streets. But and it does. It gives there's so many really positive stories that have been told about someone who's gone into. And I personally
Anthony Joshua's one. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think that for me, there needs to be like the prevention of these kind of things has got to come from like the kind of like educating all the coaches and having really like stringent kind of procedures in place to make sure that the injury prevention is prevented in that kind of training.
Sure. So you're saying
as much as you can,
because the question is this something we should ban? You're saying no, don't ban them, just prevent as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, so if you think about like there's regulations, so like return to sport protocols, so which is something whereby you've kind of got the, if someone gets like a loss of consciousness or like a technical knockout,
yeah,
and there's I can't remember the
in UFC, if you get knocked out, there's a period of time you're not allowed to.
Here we go.
You're not allowed to fight.
So like it's all at hand on this magical machine.
Wow.
So we've got this kind of like so single occurrence of a technical knockout or a knockout, loss of consciousness, is a 30-day suspension.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, I think obviously when you're going through these training procedures and you're training and you're learning the new skills and stuff like that, and you're a youngster, or you're in this kind of age bracket where you're really hungry and you really want to, I've trained alongside or with people which have just like really kind of like just want to get results, and they want to get results really quickly. They want to improve their skill acquisition. They want to kind of get really good at their sport, and they want to get stronger or whatever in the gym. And then there's this kind of like setback which comes around from an injury, and you go, you can't push through this. You've just got to listen to the body, and you've got to take a step back, and you've got to let recovery happen in order for you to then go forward.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same as this process here, right? It's kind of got this setup where it's saying, look, if this happens, it's 30 days. Then, if it's less than a minute, it's 90 days. Greater than a minute, it's 180 days. These are protocols that have been researched and have been put in place to keep safe the guys and girls which are coming up through the ranks. And I think that at the end of this paper, there's this kind of, and this is what really worries me, there's this thing that goes, these guidelines are recommendations designed to assist ringside physicians, fighters, trainers, promoters, sanctioning bodies, government bodies, and other making decisions, right? So they're recommendations. They don't have to be adopted. They don't have to be. I mean, on the whole of it, the ones that are coming through and like the higher kind of organisations, they absolutely do, and they go above and beyond. But is that monitored stringently enough when you've got the ideas of a hungry young?
I think
training?
It's a bit more difficult with boxing because there's so many different commissions. So the commission is based on where you fight. So depending where you're fighting in the world, you're dealing with a different commission who has different guidelines, different rules.
Local commissions, yeah.
Or even the belt holders. So they might have different rules. They've recently started having oxygen by ringside, just in case something happens, so they can apply oxygen directly to the fighter. So that's where it's a bit difficult. UFC, because it's one entity, the rules will apply, and I think that's where it works better. The rules all apply. to every fighter that's within the UFC organization.
Yeah, so like Vegas and California,
Yeah.
different boxing commissions. So one
Yeah.
can fight in one and not fight in the other. They can
Yeah,
get
so you would have
commissions
to you would have to get a license in that area to fight there. So for example, this is where a lot of corruption goes on. What's his name now? The guy that was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua and he got failed for 3 performance enhancing drugs. Fuck.
That's on you, mate.
I've forgotten his name.
Where's your prep?
Miller. His name's Miller.
Oh, you got out of that, didn't you?
So he failed for 3 hardcore drugs. Like one that was found to cause cancer in animals. Like it was like, all right.
So I mean, just get rid of him out. Surely.
Fine.
Get rid of him.
That's not what
out
happens.
boxing.
That's not what happens.
He went to another state.
And not just that, he got a ban from there. So like 6 months, whatever it's supposed to be, 2 years or whatever. Technically, if another commission wanted to, they could allow him to fight. So it's just corruption.
So I love combat sports, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm an advocate of, and I enjoy watching, and there's this element of positivity that it brings into a youth spectrum, which kind of puts them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then you got this joker who's just got failed in one commission and goes, actually no, I'll just go over to that one. I could go and fight in that one as well. That does make sense.
You're simplifying it a lot, but
I'm a simple man.
Essentially, yeah. But also the problem is the promoters as well.
Yeah,
they're the ones who should be saying.
That's why I've got a problem in combat sports. Then.
No, I'm not going to promote you.
Boxing, sorry.
But because he can bring in money, people go, oh, it's okay if you fail the drugs test. It's okay you try to illegally beat someone up, but it's okay. We'll forgive you.
I mean, that disappoints me. That disappoints me.
Yeah. But UFC, drugs is something that's going to be nearly impossible to get rid of, but when it comes to combat sports, I'm intolerable to them. In other sports, we're not trying to hurt another human being.
So where you're putting yourself at risk.
I can be like, okay.
Like blood doping.
I don't respect it. If you're cheating in a 100-meter sprint, for example, I'm like, oh, you're a bit of an idiot. But I don't go. I don't go. How dare you? It's got to the point where you're not that surprised. But when it comes to combat sports, you're punching someone else. You could kill that person.
I think that's really where, when you think about how, physical contact, upon another person, and you've taken performance enhancing drugs that enable you to kind of like deliver much more or more and get that advantage over that person. And that's a pretty dickish move. Really,
and if you do happen to permanently injure them or kill them, you should go down. You should go to prison
for manslaughter.
Murder. Not
murder.
Even. You killed him.
Murder.
Yeah.
Death penalty. Depends what state you're in.
Yeah, it depends, but it would be a little bit harsh because they agreed to fight. He just cheated. It'd be think of it this way: it's an illegal weapon. The drug itself is an illegal weapon in terms of fighting. It would be the equivalent of bringing, I don't know, a knuckle duster and hiding it in your gloves and punching the person.
So I found something out quite interesting, actually.
Go on.
Bare knuckle boxing.
Yes, it's a new thing that has
so
been accepted. Of course, I actually watched the fight. It was between a former UFC fighter versus a former boxer.
Yeah.
Paulie Malignaggi versus...
My flatmate was bringing me up to speed on this.
He was... What's his name?
I actually didn't believe him when he said he had his...
Lobov? Is his name Lobov?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Possibly.
They meme him and say he's the GOAT. But yeah, they had a fight. The build-up was insane.
It was over quite quickly, wasn't it?
It's only 3 rounds.
No, it was over within
No. It finished 3 rounds. Yeah, it's only 3 rounds.
Because his hand was completely annihilated.
He broke his hand, I think.
Huge slits.
Yeah,
across his eyes.
Yeah.
My flatmate was like, this is making it's there. It's legal, and I was like, that is not legal. So of course I jumped straight onto Google.
Yeah.
Has the answers to everything apparently.
Fights right there. Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, bloody hell! These lunatics are going in. I thought that's crazy.
All right.
That's like,
I'm gonna shock you.
if this is what I know and you know this is going to be crazy, go on,
Okay.
go for it.
No. Okay, fine.
Am I or you?
You go.
No, you go. Go on. This is your
It's
thing.
probably safer than normal boxing.
I know.
The gloves are there to protect the hands of the boxer, not the opponent.
Attacker, yeah.
You cannot punch a skull repeatedly and
Not
it
break your
doesn't
hand.
affect
It
your
will
hand.
break your hand.
You would have to punch lighter. Also, because it's only 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I think it's only 3 rounds.
You're likely
That's
to
a lot less.
blows to the head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically,
It looks gruesome. It looks barbaric.
it's lacerations.
It looks a lot worse than
what it
normal
is.
boxing.
It's the lacerations and the blood.
Because it's easier to cut. It's easier to cut a face with bare hands than a glove.
Yeah, well, it's muscle, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, it's simple because there's nothing cushioning your fists, but it's safer. It is actually safe, even if it doesn't look it. And you see their faces blow up, like they've got, I don't know.
I mean, maybe we can put some links in the description. For
Yeah.
people just to like show and from a visual point of view. I'll put the links with the papers that I've read as well.
Yeah.
But I quite like the, researching these things. I'm very curious. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was like, no way, this is crazy. And
Yeah.
I just think that
It hasn't been on for long either. It's only been.
it's new.
Yeah, it's
I
brand
know.
new.
And I was just like, but
So
then,
the commissions they've accepted it.
yeah,
That's what's happened. Yeah.
they've gone, yeah, that's fine. Let's roll this out.
And it's not well, they've got tape around their fists, which
Well,
is
yeah,
basically bare knuckle.
I don't think like less than 3 mil
Yeah.
of tape around your.
And I think the only real difference
Counts as
is
anything.
you're allowed to, when you end up in the clinch, you're allowed to continue fighting in the clinch. Whereas in boxing,
They set.
you separate them. So that's it. But it can be.
I mean, either way you look at it, with the introduction of bare knuckle boxing, it hasn't really
It feels like we've
confused
taken
me
a step backwards.
to get involved.
Is that what it feels like? It
It's more like it feels like it's more like a street fight,
yeah,
just with some rules.
yeah.
Like I mean, the Gypsy King. Surely he's gonna want to get involved in that.
What, bare knuckle? Probably not.
No.
This doesn't suit his style. But to be honest, a street fight is probably closest to UFC or MMA in general.
Yeah.
That's probably as close as because you end up on the floor and the ref is like, yeah, that's fine, keep fighting.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you need to do. You choke people out and all of that. So that's probably the closest. But
What message do you think that gives? I don't know. Like
what, MMA?
No, I'm not so much MMA, but like that kind of what seems like a regression. It seems like you're taking away. You're to your point you made earlier, right? You're not actually, because the gloves protect the attacker, which sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're going to attack this person. Yeah, let's give you some gloves to protect you.
Well, think about when it first started, boxing. When it actually first started, there was no limit on the rounds.
Right.
You could fight forever.
Yeah.
What was happening is,
Like in Snatch.
I think did they? Maybe.
Well,
I
it
can't
didn't
remember.
last very long, did it?
Yeah.
Gorgeous George.
Well, here's the problem. The problem was the fights weren't lasting because their hands were hurting. They couldn't punch anymore. So they went, wait a minute. If we put gloves on you, can you guys fight for longer?
Sure, let's give it a go.
And yeah, there's actually a story of
That's
so it wasn't by will back in the days. You didn't go, yeah, I'll fight. You kind of were forced to fight.
Yeah.
And someone was told, if you lose this fight, we're going to kill you. And he lasted 40 plus rounds.
What a trooper.
He lost.
Oh no.
It was like,
He put all
well,
that
that's
effort
what I can't remember the name, but that's how gruesome it was. And
need to
people were
find-
fighting for food rather than money. Like,
Was that back down in the docks?
this
and
is
stuff
weird.
like that?
Yeah, when it first, the gentleman's sport.
The
when
origin
it
of
became the
boxing.
gentleman's sport. Yeah,
Be interested to know the origin of boxing. Actually, might be able to look that up.
it probably came from bare knuckle.
So one thing that has kind of caught my attention,
Okay.
actually, and it's this not so much the acute injury like a TKO, immediate loss of consciousness, or a KO, but more to do with like repetitive blows to the head.
Yeah.
So they do have this, and this has found its way. This research has found its way into multiple sports across multiple domains as well. So we're talking in the military, as well as in things like American football, and it's called CTE. Now I'm going to have a go at actually saying the word. So
it's quite a common phrase in the fighting world, but
yeah, but the listeners might not know that, mate.
I'm just saying.
Just giving the listeners.
Let's hear it.
So it's chronic traumatic.
Yeah.
What's the last word, Garth?
I can't remember. I just know it's CTE.
And so encephalopathy.
Okay.
I don't think that's right.
And what is it?
But someone can help me out, I'm sure. So basically, it's where you have multiple concussions or subconcussive blows, so you don't have to be knocked out.
Yeah.
And it's chronic traumatic, and it basically has been found in the autopsy of boxers, football players, and hockey players.
Football players, American football players. It's not going to be...
It doesn't specify.
It's common in American football players, so I'm pretty sure
because they get tested for it, don't they?
Yeah.
And actually, a couple of them have gone. There's been anecdotal reports, so don't quote me on this, but you can if you want, it's fine. There's been some that have kind of gone in and had severe like onset of dementia.
Yeah.
And also very, very depressed.
Yeah.
And suicidal.
Yeah.
And it's been caused by it's high concentrations of protein that basically tangle up in the beta amyloid plaques, which is actually what they find when you have someone with dementia or Alzheimer's. Is what it stops the blood flow, the vascular blood flow into various parts of the cells of the brain, right?
Yeah.
So effectively, they found this in these football players, and also with regards to boxers and hockey players. Hockey players, I'm not quite sure how that.
Well, you're allowed to fight, aren't you?
Yeah, of course you are. Absolutely, it's punching,
why.
isn't it, rather than actual blows with the stick.
And American football, they're constantly
the line
bashing into each other. Yeah.
And there's actually again, I was having quite a good chat with my flatmate earlier about this, and there's this currently an American footballer that's pretty much going around using himself as a weapon and taking key players out of the game. This kind of like,
what a trooper.
Well, is he? I'm not sure.
He's using himself. He's sacrificing himself for the team. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a rhinoceros.
He just keeps pounding himself. Fine.
And like I mean, when you think about that, his every hit, every blow. I mean, he's taking someone out of the game, so they're obviously incurring it as well, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, you've got this kind of like this gradual build up. This, it's chronic. You don't see it, you don't feel it straight away. It's not acute, and then you go for like a brain scan or something as a checkup, and it's like, mate, too many more blows, too much more of this, and you're gonna be in trouble. And then comes the point of the money, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where my next issue comes in. We've spoken a little bit about the training side of it and the youth side of it. The preventative side, is everything being done to be proactive rather than reactive of a situation which could essentially cause someone's death, worst case scenario. But then there's this aspect as well, which is the chronic build up, and then when you have this money that's dropped involved in it as well, so you go, okay, right, so you've probably got about like between 40 and 50 more blows to the head, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah. And
then you get this other guy that goes, here's a check for, I don't know.
Which is so relevant in boxing.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's a massive pay, right?
How many boxers have fought way too long
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
point of
it's like, you're done, mate. You were done like
and they
4 or
still
5
go
matches
on.
ago, and they're still taking a paycheck just to get out there. And then now my question is, for all the good that combat sports, the discipline, getting the kids off the streets into the right kind of areas.
Yeah.
Is it then now teaching them from the highest of the high parts of the sport? Is it teaching them the wrong kind of way, as in like, take the money before your health? Because that's what the message says to me. Like, take your money, fuck your health. If you're gonna take one too many blows, take one too many blows. You've only got to look at Ali, haven't you? Really, I mean, he's probably the most famous.
He's the reason I'm into combat sports.
And that's not a surprise at all. But his degeneration and into Parkinson's and his inability to communicate and such forth, he didn't take. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't statistically know how many blows he took, but.
Well, he had 2 stages of his career. One before his ban, because he refused to be drafted.
Yep.
He barely got hit then. Mm-hmm. It was after he came back. He was so tenacious, it did him no good.
Right.
He could take shots and keep fighting.
Yeah.
However, I've read his book, and he's stated that he would have got Parkinson's.
Sure.
No matter what. But I'm sure it didn't help. Getting hit in the head.
It's a neurological trauma.
He said he said in his book, if I was a baker, I would have ended up with Parkinson's.
But he might have got it 30 years later. Who knows?
Who knows?
But I mean, for me, so this kind of like issue of that, and I mean, okay, it's not a combat sport, but American football, same concept, linebacker, best in the NFL. One too many hits, but I mean, what's the Any Given Sunday? I mean, is it Any Given Sunday? I'm sure it is. And it's the quarterback. He's the quarterback. Any Given Sunday, he's the quarterback. If he takes one more sack if he gets one more sack, one more blow. I think he's got like issues with his neck.
I see.
And so on and so forth. Which, I mean, there was a Will Smith film called Concussion.
Yeah. I haven't seen it though.
No one has seen it. No one went to see it because it was brought out, and like I was saying earlier to my flatmate, like he made the point that, well, why would anyone go and see that? It's basically an American film about how bad American football is. Yeah. So, like, my flatmate's lived in America before, and he's basically the words that came out of his mouth were like, well, at the end of the day, I'm an American. I love my American football. Don't take that away from me. I'm not going to watch a film which is basically going to say you shouldn't watch it.
Here's my answer.
I'm interested in your answer.
There must be something to educate the youngsters before they step into the sport.
Any sport. A dangerous sport.
Especially if it's going to implicate your health at a later stage. So thoroughly educate them. Say, here's CTE. This happens to whatever percent of people. We'll just talk about fighters. And then there must also be another stage where you can teach them how to survive in the modern world without their sport. So that if they do get to a stage where they should stop fighting, there's another avenue they can take to make money. Because that's
well, that should happen with all sports really, because all sports carry, apart from golf. I think golf's a pretty safe sport.
Yeah, no, but and snooker and darts. No, but the real issue is, your health is declining and you can't continue.
Sure.
But you need money. At least if you're playing football, let's just say British soccer. I'm just going to call that football.
Soccer. You like soccer?
If you're getting really bad at the game, but they're still paying you, great. So what?
I'll sit on the bench for the next 3 years, and
I've got a contract.
Yeah.
It's a bit different when your health is declining.
Yeah.
And you're still getting beaten up. They don't know what to do. A lot of the times is they retire, and how many times have you heard fighters retire and they come back? because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, and yet and all they're doing is coming back to get more money and risk more their health. I completely agree with you there that education has to be at like base level. It has to be, you have to educate the parents that obviously are supporting financially, motivationally speaking, their children to go into these disciplines, which is fine, which is, and you know, it gives them direction, it gives them a sense of self-worth. That's brilliant, that's perfect. But I think that, and I actually was speaking to one of our colleagues the other day, and I said to her, what about your boy? How would you feel about him going into boxing?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I would, but only for like the discipline, the structure,
not to go pro,
not to actually go and fight.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's, so you know, maybe there could be options like that which kind of teach those things and install those things, but whilst you're installing those things and people going through that process, they're also getting to your point, the education whereby they can make a decision and then they make another decision, and then if they're pro, they've got all the information, they make another decision. My issue comes is that with that decision, should that decision be taken out of their hands by commissioning bodies if it comes down to money? Because let's face it, if someone puts a £30 million check in front of you,
well,
that's where someone is, and that then sets a better example.
So technically, if you're not fit to fight, they won't grant you the license to fight.
Yeah, and it's got to be stringent. You can't just pay off a doctor.
Okay, let's use Muhammad Ali. So he had Parkinson's while he was still fighting. He developed it really early. So he went to fight Larry Holmes, which was his last fight. He was 38. And he had Parkinson's at the time, but no one knew. Horrible, right? He claims he went to the best clinic or whatever it was, did all the tests, and they said there's nothing wrong with you. So he's cleared. Okay?
Right, yeah.
You can get cleared.
Of course you can.
Let's use Michael Bisping, UFC middleweight champion, who's retired now. British, by the way. Shout out to him. And he recently revealed he's been fighting with one eye the entire time. Not the entire time.
He's pretty good though.
He was good. But I mean,
did he have both eyes?
Do you think any commission would allow you to fight with one eye?
Well, he shouldn't do.
Well, he used to wear a glass eye.
Glass?
Yeah.
Oh my god. That could kill him.
Not. It wouldn't shatter. I'm pretty sure he chose something strong enough to withstand blows.
Titanium steel eye.
Who knows? Well, it looked normal, but he suffered the injury while fighting. So he suffered an eye injury while he was in the middle of a fight, but he kept it a secret that he had to have his eye removed. And there's visible tests. You got to take vision tests for these commissions and all of that. He passes them. And
that worries me though.
And even though he lost his eye, he still wanted to fight. You can't take that away from him. I don't think anyone should be allowed. And he became the champion of the world with one eye.
With one eye. I mean, I'm not.
You can't take that away from him.
Well,
he's saying he might have to get a metal knee, like he's saying, but he doesn't regret it. He lived what he wants to do.
And so that's freedom of choice. So now you're in the realms of freedom of choice, but also when you've got that kind of setup in place where you are effectively you are a role model, you're giving example to future generations. It's like, it's such a difficult one. I'm really genuinely interested.
There's two things. There's two types of fighters. There's athletes, then there's actual fighters.
Mayweather.
We never got to see. So he might have been a fighter.
He's just moved too much.
But but there's people who, when they lose or when they lose bad or when the going gets tough, they go, that's me. I'm saving myself for another day.
Yeah.
Then you got people like Michael Bisping.
I think I'm probably more like Mayweather. I'm like, no, I'm done.
You're the athlete.
Yeah.
Most people are.
Yeah.
When the going gets tough,
Will gets going.
there you go.
Bye.
Exactly. And then you've got people who are fighters.
Oh no, I'm a fighter. No, I am a fighter.
This
Within
happened to Mike,
reason.
and you could tell Michael Bisping. Forget the fact that he's fighting with one eye, and he never used it as an excuse because no one knew. Because he could have easily, when he lost, go. By the way,
Didn't someone just go, hang on, if I attack him from this side, he can't actually see me.
that is what was happening to him, and he was still winning fights. It was incredible.
But he must have taken a lot of blows to one side of his head then.
Yeah, because he didn't see them coming. So I'm sure they didn't know he couldn't see, but they were probably watching the footage going, oh, he's more
To be honest
susceptible
with you,
to getting hit
if he
there.
had actually said, I only have one eye, he would have been out the game anyway.
Yeah, there's no
because
way.
he would have been...
But he loved fighting that much. He wanted to keep going. So much so, I've seen him where he got choked out and he refused to tap. He let himself go unconscious. He refused. Those people, you cannot take that sport away from them.
No.
You
That's
must
fair enough.
gaze upon their greatness. Sit back and say, I cannot do that shit, but
No.
well done.
And they're probably people that you'd want in your corner as well. If
Things went down, Michael Bisping, please come help me out. So they called. Do you know what they call the ring or the octagon? They call it the chamber of truth.
Oh, okay.
The chamber of truth, because once you're in there, and the door closes or the bell rings, there's nowhere for you to run.
The truth comes out.
Your words have no meaning.
I feel like I'm being preached to.
Please be. You are naked.
Whoa, hang on.
Not physically.
Okay.
Mentally, you are naked.
Stripped.
Stripped down
Shall
to
we
the...
say stripped?
Stripped down to the core.
Okay.
And your true character will come out in that fight.
I mean, that happens in other places other than the octagon, though. But fair enough.
Well, not as intense as this.
Fair. Okay.
The chamber of truth is where your true character will be found. And I think people love that. People love to see two people to the point of there's no running, there's no talking your way out of it. You can quit if you really want to, but then we know who you actually are.
You can try and scurry over that.
We'll know you're a quitter.
Yeah, sure. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, right. So we've discussed a few issues.
Yeah.
We've kind of like, injuries. We talked about like money involvement. We've talked about ongoing chronic effects of multiple blows, so on and so forth. So the question that I've got now, okay, is you have a young child.
Mm-hmm.
So that child wants to go into combat sports, let's say MMA or mixed martial arts or
whatever
boxing,
it is.
whatever.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that right now at the moment?
Very simple.
Very simple. Go for it.
I make him enter, or her, the chamber of truth. And I will find out if you're a fighter or not.
So you'd put your child straight into the octagon?
Yeah, I mean, against another child, not another professional athlete.
I'm sure you can put them straight into the octagon, by the way. So
As
let's
in
not panic
to
about
spar against another child.
that. Okay.
That's what you do.
Okay.
Okay. Here you go. If my child comes to me and says, "Dad, I want to fight."
Yeah.
All right. Next day, I'm gonna take you to the gym. Speak to the coach and say, "Can I just put them in against another same age bracket, please?"
Yeah.
Watch what happens.
Right.
Depending on what happens there, I will make my decision.
Okay. I mean,
If that child just...
I'm not entirely sure of your methodology,
It is brilliant.
but it's your choice,
Think about it. The child gets beaten up because he has no idea what he's doing.
which is probably going to happen.
Fine. First, I'll get to see if he quits or if he takes the beating like a man. Second, if he wakes up the next day and goes, "I want to go again," I will know.
You've got yourself
He truly
someone for the
wants to do it, and he's
Okay.
not just saying it.
That's fine. I mean, and your rationale does hold some weight.
I would want to make sure he is serious about it, rather than just saying it because he watched Muhammad Ali do it. I'd have to find out if it was in his heart to do it. Yeah. And that's the best way, in my opinion. Well, go on. Your method. Let's hear yours.
Well, I don't really have a method. I mean, it's something that I've kind of like, I have thought about, and I think that for me, if I had a child that wanted to learn the skills and fight and that, I think that I would want them to do it for, like, I'd want them the right reasons.
Yeah.
So I'd want them to explore why they want to do it, and for me, if they wanted to do it for, I mean, there's a big thing about, like, obviously self-defense.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great thing as well.
Amazing.
I think it's a great thing for anyone to be able to defend themselves. I think it's especially, for women to be able to defend themselves.
100%.
And I think that for me, I would not prevent. I would encourage my child to be involved in physical combat sports, providing that they were doing it for the right reasons. But I would need to. I'd need to feel happy that and for them to have my full support, that they weren't doing it just because they wanted to go and find little Johnny in the playground and give him a good kicking because he beat him on Call of Duty.
I mean, I don't think Johnny's going to be the same age as your son anymore.
Well,
but
if he wants,
Johnny's son.
If he wants to do a revenge, I don't want my kid learning martial arts so he can go do a revenge beating on Johnny, who beat me at Call of Duty way back.
Yeah.
So, in theory, for the right reasons, I was talking to another colleague actually, who I found it very interesting, the way he approached. We were just talking actually on the bus, and he said that if he had a daughter, one of the things that he would encourage his daughter to do would be to learn physical self-defense, combat, etc.
Yeah.
Like MMA is I think one of the things he said. This is Marin. Shout out to Marin.
Hello, Marin.
And but he also said that he would like to couple that with promoting, like, ballet. So she had the ability to be able to defend herself and the ability to be graceful.
Okay.
And my thought process behind that is that actually what you're doing is training a graceful killer.
That's fine.
But, if it works, it works.
See, for me, I wouldn't choose what my child does.
No, they should choose. Of course.
If
you can encourage.
If she wants to be a stone cold killer and just wants to do MMA, let's go. Prove yourself first.
In the octagon of truth.
The chamber of truth, Will.
Oh.
The chamber. Because it can be in a ring, it can even be on the streets.
Okay.
You can enter at any point in time.
Excellent.
But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So should they be banned? Combat sports?
No, I don't think they should be banned. I think they should be monitored. I think that they should
better,
be
anyway.
Yeah, and I think they should be more. Yeah, sorry, monitored better, because they're already monitored, but monitored better. A little bit more focus on the kind of like preventative measures, and just maybe looking at a little bit more of like their longer term health risks and having things in place.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely never ban it.
No.
I think it's something that should be kept within society, as barbaric as it may seem. And yeah, that's it. Another smashing episode.
Smashing.
Of The Big Drill.
Thanks very much for listening, guys.
And they can find you, Will, on Instagram on
Will Hawkins Coaching.
And I am on Ghazi.92. Any questions, please drop them in the comments below.
You've been listening to The Big Drill.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Hi, I'm Will.
And I'm Ghazi.
And thanks for tuning in to The Big Drill. You can also find us on these platforms here. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find him on Insta.
Ghazi.92.
And me, Will Hawkins Coaching. The links are in the description. And until the next time we drill deep, goodbye.
Bye.